Show. Show. You wanna be a dungeon master.
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, in honor of our upcoming actual play, Oops All Healers, we're going to talk about how to make your D&D game into a medical drama. What's that genre even about? And how does D&D factor in when the system isn't made for this at all? Well, we've got some tips and tricks so that you can give it a try yourself. So let's not waste any time, Doctor. This listener's dying. They need 100 cc's of this episode starting. Stat! But first...
Outrageous.
As a Sherlock Holmes fan, Taylor, how do you feel about House? Did you also enjoy House? You did love it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
did you enjoy how they kind of combined those?
I like.
Obviously, there's some elements of Sherlock Holmes they bring in, some they don't.
The deductive reasoning and like going through all the tests and all that stuff, like that is very Holmesian. But then also, I kind of just like House as a character. Like, his development across the whole series was very good. But yeah, I do really like the Holmesian kind of, we got to figure out what happened. But it's like, I remember there was one where like they kept trying to trace this sickness, and it's like getting into his pancreas, and now it's in his liver, and now it's in his whatever, and like they come to find out he like swallowed a fucking toothpick or something, and it was poking holes in its guts, and they had to pull the toothpick out.
Yep.
That's one that really sticks in my mind of like random shit. And it's never lupus, except for the 1 or 4 times that it was lupus.
Yeah.
And then we talked on the Otter Brewery Syndrome episode how every medical drama has that.
There's always going to be always going to be one where they talk about that, and they accuse the person of being a lying alcoholic, and the person's like, I swear I gave it up. And they're like, your blood alcohol content is a 0.0. What do you mean? Doctor,
you gave it up.
His blood alcohol content went up during surgery. That can't happen.
We've been monitoring all of his food intake. Maybe he was sneezing.
He's just eating Twizzlers, sir. His body's turning Twizzlers into alcohol. Anyway, so love that.
I'll take some of what he's having.
It was just like so fun how they combine those two sort of things. They take a medical genre, like medical dramas, and which like I looked it up. They go back. We'll get into it in greater detail in a second, but like I think it's like the 1930s is like where we're talking maybe the origin, give or take,
right,
of medical dramas. Like, of course, they're very different then than they are now, and there's all different spins on them. House being a great example of that, where they take what has become a genre in and of itself, medical dramas, this like episodic serial series where you get to see individual episodes that maybe you don't need to see the previous one, but then maybe there are like relationship or longer arc stories throughout. You know, like this doctor and this nurse get together, but it takes the whole season. But then like this patient came in with Otter Brewery Syndrome. We're gonna bang that story out in the one episode.
In the 1 hour,
And then House comes in with this like, and medical dramas lend themselves to this because it like has mystery and diagnoses and things that can replicate a private detective in the way that Sherlock Holmes would operate.
Right.
It fits like
checking alibis is running tests and like and all
they're breaking into buildings and shit.
There's the interrogation scenes where everybody lies, getting the medical
like
history and stuff.
The brain blast moment.
Yes. Where he's just in his office throwing the tennis ball on the wall and then catches it. There's the slow pan, and then he gets up and walks away with a purse. Gets up and walks away with a purpose.
It was Tuesday. National Lupus Recognition Day. Yeah, like that is
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
how that's going to go down. So I do love that. And we're going to get into medical dramas. I can't wait to talk more
I kinda
about it and
miss
how
that.
we did it, how you can do it as well.
Yeah.
I can't wait. We'll
That
talk
show
more about
format
House and
has
the medical
been
drama genre itself and
we've
everything.
lost
But
it. That'll be a Patreon episode. You guys will talk about procedural shows and the death of them. Check it out.
oh
We haven't read
boy.
it yet. I miss them. I miss them. I miss them. But
Well,
we simply can't get into it right now. We must move
yeah,
on
we
with the
have to move
Patreon.
on. We have to move on. So, gang, the Patreon, check it out. There's all kinds of crazy episodes, including the bonus action. If you like the podcast, you're going to love the bonus action. It's just extra podcast episodes where Taylor and I talk about whatever the hell we're feeling, usually tabletop,
Mhm.
related.
Yeah, mostly.
But we reserve the right to go nuts. So check those out. Those come out, they're just 2 a month usually. And then there's all the other content that's available, subclasses we've got coming out. There's a punk fighter where you get abilities like no masters, where you get to flip off the DM, or you get like crazy things like universal healthcare. Imagine that. But you also get something called resistance dice, where you can use them to do different actions like punch a Nazi or throw a Molotov cocktail, just
yeah.
different things,
Hell yeah.
So check that out. And then later, I think in the very beginning of July, we have a wizard subclass coming out called the Sinner, where it's just the 7 deadly sins, random abilities based on those. So it's just a fun one. But check those out. Patreon, link in the description. Okay, so meat of the episode. How you doing?
Hey, meat of the episode. All right, that's too spicy. We're gonna have to put that behind the paywall. Anyway,
So,
medical dramas. What are medical dramas? But
here's the scary part, Taylor.
Okay.
I went to our old friend. I
The
went to the Collins Dictionary. Of course, our old friend. Nothing.
What?
Nothing. Didn't have anything on the term medical drama. It gave me a lot of suggestions that are similar, but different and not the same. Like medical procedure, medical this, medical diagram.
Yeah. Oh, I gotcha.
But not a medical drama.
TV drama, TV genre.
Exactly. Yeah, because it is so specifically tied into media. I think that it's not necessarily going to cover this super hyper specific kind of thing. That being said, I went over to IMDb, and IMDb does have a definition for it, or at least what they have written down. I thought it was pretty accurate, so I figured we would just use that for the sake of describing what a medical drama is. A medical drama is a subgenre that features the lives of medical professionals, their interactions with patients, and the challenges they face in the medical field. These dramas provide viewers with insights into the world of healthcare, medical procedures, ethical dilemmas, and the emotional and personal experiences of both medical practitioners and patients. Oof.
Okay.
I mean,
that pretty much sums it up.
The most important things to take away is that the word medical comes up a ton.
Yeah, it is.
So you're dealing with something
generally will take place in a hospital or a clinic or some kind of that kind of deal. I think
that's the interesting thing is
rural practice.
Yeah, we're gonna go over different examples of medical dramas. One example would be MASH.
Okay.
Obviously, there are other genres of. Have you even heard of it? Let me start there.
I've heard the name MASH. I know that it is a show about
old school Korean War.
Got it. Yes.
Okay. So, it is a medical drama. Yes, there is the backdrop of the Korean War. These are soldiers in Korea during the Korean War. But they're the main characters are doctors. They're surgeons. Hawkeye, the main dude, he's a surgeon. Okay. So they're also very episodic, but there are overarching things certain characters that we fall in love with or certain relationships that we want to happen and we start shipping or whatever. But it's just a medical drama like any other, but they've just incorporated some other stuff into it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Some timeliness, some historical stuff that makes it feel very unique, but it is a
Right.
medical drama. So it's like where you set it and all those different things can kind of vary a little bit, although it is very common to see somewhere where surgery and or medical practice is taking place. You can
Right.
kind of get really creative with that. But
Yeah,
normally it's like
there's some kind of central hub
I
where
guess you
there's
could do one where like there was that one where it was like a dude who like went to Miami and he was just like a random dude.
yes. Oh my
I
god,
mean,
what
he was
is
a
his
doctor,
name?
but he was just like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
consultant
Oh my
kind
god, it was
of
a
like the
USA show. It
mentalist,
came
but
on right after Burn
yeah,
Notice. I know exactly
yeah,
what show you're talking about.
exactly. So like there's
Royal
shows like that.
Royal Pains? Royal
Oh, that
Pains.
sounds very
I
familiar.
think
That
that's
might
it.
be it.
I think that's
So
it.
you could do something where like you're following a group of medical practitioners, but then they are traveling. So you're not necessarily in hospitals, but like the
Mhm.
same idea is like you're following someone or somewhere that medical shit is going down.
Right,
That is
right.
like the most important thing.
Mhm.
Now, when you're expanding past that to include medical dramas,
Right.
right? Because that is different than like you're watching a legit, there are shows that exist, right? That are just
Mhm.
like you're watching surgeries or like
Right, right, right,
here's
right.
a real story. It would be the equivalent of like watching Law and Order versus watching a true crime documentary.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there are differences. There's things that are going to be obviously it's scripted, it's dramatized, it has
Mhm.
drama. So that's
Mhm.
where we get the idea of like the ethical dilemmas, the emotional and personal experiences where like
Yeah.
we're not just having like a doctor show up and go, "Hello, I'm Dr. Smith. I did this surgery on this day and everything was successful because her spleen actually we were able to." And that's not what we're
No,
doing. We're
it's
talking
just
about
as
Dr. Smith where
much.
he goes, "And I have a drinking problem." Anyway,
Yeah, no, it's just
remember
as
that
much about
surgery 2 months ago?
the communication between the doctors, like the interactions between the doctors as it is between the doctors and the patients. Actually, it's usually more focused on the interactions between the doctors to an extent. There's those
Most medical
overarching,
dramas,
yeah, it's
absolutely.
there's the big overarching storyline. That is where all the real meat and all the dialogue and all the, focus is being spent of the
Mhm.
camera in those shows. But then also, well, we got to do something to kind of spice it up a little bit. Let's throw some sick people in there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it depends on the show. They
Hmm.
vary, like in terms of the different like degrees of how much they're going to get into certain things. For
Right.
example, you have a show like House, where yes, there are personal matters that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk
Hmm.
about House's backstory and this and that and his own struggles and what
Hmm.
have you. But like the show is going to focus a lot on that diagnosis portion
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
mystery
Yeah.
of it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Whereas a show like The Pit, it's like a newer medical drama. I haven't personally like watched it. My mom watched it. She spoke very highly of it. It's incredibly popular these
Hmm.
days. That show takes things much more seriously. It's like we
Right.
want to be as realistic as possible. We want doctors and surgeons to watch our show and go, "Yeah, that's how it is."
Hmm.
And that was their goal. Then you have Scrubs,
I love
where
Scrubs
there's
so
actually
much.
some medical accuracy to how they did certain
Uh-huh.
parts of the show,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
focusing a little bit more on comedy, which allows
Hmm.
them to then hit certain episodes because it's such a
Right.
long, it's like a
Yeah. Yeah.
series. So
Yeah. There are some
you can
very
have there
heavy
be a
episodes in
very
there. Yeah.
exactly. Because that's the beauty of any kind of series is that you can
Mhm.
explore different things. And then you have a show like Grey's Anatomy, which has been on for 35,000 years before the
Right.
dinosaurs that the
Right.
fucking Grey's Anatomy has been on. It's ridiculous. It's so insane.
Still
I hear
running.
about I heard somebody describe it. This broke my heart a little bit. Somebody
Mhm.
described the Brazil soccer team as Grey's Anatomy, where it was like, there was a time when that was it, man. They were
Right.
the best of the best. And they
Right.
still today, every time they come out with a new season, you're like, I hope it's good. Man. For the
Right,
legend of it
right,
all, for the
right.
history, you want it to
Yeah.
be good, but God damn, they keep letting me down. And somebody used the Grey's Anatomy to describe the Brazil soccer team, like
So
the
funny.
men's Brazil soccer team, because the
Right.
women's team is sick. Marta is so fucking good. But
Mhm.
anyway, so how you do the genre is very fun and interesting, but there are the through lines of things that we've already kind of discussed. There should be
Right.
medical professionals of some kind. medical procedures. There's medical stuff.
The medical
Like,
stuff
obviously, I
going
think
on,
there's a
yeah.
world where you could get insanely creative and be like, okay, they're not medical professionals, but they have to do medical stuff. And like, maybe there's a world where you can make that into a medical drama. I'm not here to do that necessarily,
Sure, yeah.
but like, it's possible, I'm sure. But like,
Mhm.
for our sake, you just need those through lines of like the
Yeah.
biggest themes of what medical dramas are.
Doctors doing medical stuff.
Medical stuff, drama,
Mhm.
done. You know? So,
Mhm.
some more examples. We talked about Scrubs, an incredible show. So
Love it.
funny, but also deeply,
Mhm.
deeply heavy. It's a very specific episodes, but
Yeah,
can hit those moments. ER, another
That's another
classic.
super long running one, right? Or is it?
I'm pretty sure it's pretty long running, but it's like man, it was like in the late 90s
90s.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
I do
just
remember
early
it
George
coming out.
Clooney and
Uh-huh.
crazy. I think John Stamos was in it, maybe. No. Maybe he's Grey's Anatomy. That man's in everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Grey's Anatomy, House, The Pit, The Resident, MASH, and then you have like General Hospital, which is like medical
A
drama
soap
leaning towards
opera?
soap opera. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like General Hospital. It
Yeah.
takes place in a hospital.
Right,
It's like
right.
so it's like another one of those things where it's like you're taking medical drama and then you're shading it in with like different vibes, which I think is fun. It just shows that medical dramas you can still have fun pushing the boundaries a little bit without
Right.
breaking it.
Right.
Where you're like, yeah, okay, I can see how MASH is a medical drama. Yes, there are all these other political things going on. And they talk about it in the show. And it's like that MASH is another one where there are some episodes that are so funny. You know, they're spending the whole episode is them trying to figure out how to like bootleg some kind of crazy transistor radio so that they can watch the game. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the whole episode is them just fooling around, sneaking around, grabbing things, stealing things out of part. Like, and then there's another episode where like one of the main characters gets saved or saves, I forget the direction, like a North Korean. And it becomes this whole thing of like, you're my enemy, but we're helping each other. It was like super ethical to talk about an ethical dilemma. Yeah, it was insane because he's not just a soldier, or he's also the surgeon. So you have that like Hippocratic oath thing, but also like you're like, but this is my enemy. So it's like a weird position. So it's like, man, that show MASH,
House
crushes
did that too. Yeah.
So good. But okay, so before we get into too much of the specifics of how to bring medical dramas into a D&D game. Let's talk about a little bit of it really quickly. When you are twisting Dungeons and Dragons in order for it to do something that it's not necessarily meant to do.
Right.
I would advise you to tread carefully. I just think that it's like, obviously if you're a newer DM, if you're a newer player, this could get a little complicated, and it could also maybe like give you some bad habits because you'll get used to certain things that aren't necessarily the case, or I don't know. I just think that it can be complicated when we've talked about it in the past of like, you need to know the thing before you break the thing or like, or bend it even.
Yeah.
And so I think that comes into account. I also think that like D&D, depending on the level of play you're at, can be complicated for some people. So if you're adding a ton of homebrew mechanics, like entire systems of homebrew mechanics, if you're like, okay, I'm going to create an entire table system for what x-rays are like, or like to simulate surgery and the anesthesia, I'm going to create a D100 system. Whoa. The more you add to that, like you could get closer and closer to actually doing a little more realistic medicine kind of stuff, but you're going away from D&D, which isn't necessarily a problem. It's just you could overcomplicate things,
and
where
then it's just going to bog the whole table down with mechanics.
It becomes so much more about dice rolling than it is about storytelling.
Right.
And so it's always a balance. I think that you're going to have to get into the muck of it all in order to figure out like what's important, what's not important, what can we change, what should we keep kind of similar, or like keep rules as written for the sake of balance or precedence or whatever. So I do think that there's like different ways of sometimes you just got to try it and be like, hey, D&D is not made for medical dramas.
Right.
Get your fucking hands in there, figure it out what works and what doesn't work, and change it as you go along. I think sometimes you have to do that. But hopefully we can give you some tips to make it a little easier along the way. That's the goal.
A little bit.
Because we've done it. We've done it. I don't know if we mentioned at the top of the episode. I know we did. Oops All Healers coming out July 2nd on Thursday, YouTube, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So the thing is about that idea is an interesting origin story because it didn't start with the idea of doing a medical drama. It started with the idea of just almost like a creative writing exercise of going down the list of classes in D&D and deciding what would an Oops All Barbarians like 1-shot or 3-shot, short campaign kind of thing. What would that look like? What would be the best way to get a group of barbarians to work together, to use their skills and not exploit their weaknesses too harshly? Because you don't want just like to set them up for a TPK where you're like, oh, they're just going to go against like huge damage dealers who do force damage or psychic damage.
Right.
So rage doesn't even matter. And though they have no healing, so fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to create a fun, interesting thing. Also with the idea of like actual plays in my head. So eventually I get down to cleric. So I'm going alphabetically. Alchemist, barbarian, bard, cleric. Once I get to cleric, I started thinking of one idea that was like, what if it was like they're healers and it's like a group of healers? Like if you guys are all meant to be healers, that's an interesting concept because why are you together? How are you together? Is it like a combat medic situation? Are you guys like frontline medics? Like, how does this work? And then I started to think more deeply about clerics because you and I love clerics. I wouldn't consider myself a cleric main because I love bards too much, but clerics are definitely like up there. And we know that they're very diverse. You can be one of, if not the strongest healers in the game with cleric, but you don't have to be. You can be a huge damage dealer. You can practically be a tank, on the same level as a barbarian almost. So it's like there's a lot you can do with clerics. So it didn't feel right to pigeonhole them into being healers only for the sake of this little actual play experiment. So then I was like, okay, cleric, I have a different idea for. I'm going to start the cleric one with a TPK, and now we're in the afterlife, and you find out that the TPK was organized by evil gods who are trying to influence. I have it all set up. So I was like, let's do a healer one, though. What would that one look like? I'll call it Oops All Healers. Here we are. Where would a group of designated healers be? Like, where can they flourish? You know what I mean? Like you're planting a little seeds and you're like, okay, where is the sun going to hit this the most? Where is going to get the best nutrients, the best soil, all that kind of shit. And so I'm like, where can I put a bunch of healers?
That would make sense for a bunch of them to be just hanging around.
Yeah, and for them to like use their abilities well, to make a good show that's entertaining, all of the things.
Right.
Medical drama answered the question because it was like, well, they're going to have a lot of healing capabilities. They're in a hospital. They're all medical professionals. That works out perfectly. Okay. This is going to be interesting for entertainment reasons because medical dramas are popular. They're a big genre. They're recognizable. People are familiar with them. So they have a certain appeal. So I was just like, oh, this works perfectly with one exception. D&D as a system don't really want you to do a medical drama for several reasons. Healing can kind of heal a lot of things.
Yeah.
8 hours of sleep
can
get all your hit points back.
Best everything else, right?
Lesser restoration, greater restoration, like lay on hands.
Yeah.
Remove curse. There are so many ways to heal things. Calm emotions can just end a thing. So it's like there's so many ways to very quickly subdue most like quote unquote ordinary medical things. So you have to really start thinking a little bit outside the box with how you're going to set up things if you want the medical part of it to be something that the players actually have to like bite into.
Right.
You could, in theory, have the medical part of it be the smaller part and lean more into the drama and the relationships and all that kind of stuff, and just be like, cool, okay, you guys go into surgery, go ahead and everyone make a medicine check. All right, fantastic. You guys cure this guy. Back out in the hall, you see McDreamy walk down the hall. Hey, babe, how's it going? You know what I mean? Like, you could
Right.
lean way more into that rather than the medical stuff. We
Mhm.
decided not to do that. We decided to make it kind of 50-50. Maybe 60-40. I don't know. But it doing this through Oops All Healers taught us so much. The first thing is like the team composition of it all was really interesting. Because when you tell people, hey, you're going to make a designated healer in a group of designated healers,
Mhm.
something about people's minds, especially we work with awesome people,
Right.
like their experience, they've played D&D a ton, they have actual play experience most of the time, they're creatives. So like when I told them you got to make designated healers, they didn't all just make life domain clerics, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There
yeah.
isn't a single life domain cleric in the group. There's a grave domain cleric, and that's the only cleric.
Mhm.
There's a druid, 2 bards, a monk,
Nice.
like, and then
Way of Mercy monk. Yeah.
Way of Mercy monk, and then I think the last one's like a ranger or something random. They intentionally made themselves like 3 levels below everybody else because they were an intern and they wanted it, or a resident, and they wanted themselves to feel that way. And I was like, okay, but
Nice.
it was awesome. It was awesome how different they made their characters, because not only were they mechanically different,
Right.
right? You have the monk who can stun people. You have like the druid who can turn into animals to do different cool things, can summon animals to do different
Mhm.
things. You have the bards who are skill hounds. They're doing all the skills with expertise, no problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, skill checks are a joke. The grave cleric is a cleric, so they're very good at what they're trying to do.
Mhm.
It was just awesome. And then like on top of that, it really made you think about like, oh, okay, what is a healer really in this context? Not just mechanically D&D wise, but in the world that we're creating for this story, because it gave them opportunities. Not every single person decided to be a surgeon.
Right.
Like, there's only one surgeon in the group. The monk chose, because of monk, I imagine they did a great job of kind of combining mechanics with storytelling, where like, how are they a healing monk Way of Mercy? Like, mechanically, I understand how that works, but how does that work in the story? Oh, I'm a physical therapist and like acupuncturist and stuff like that.
Okay.
That makes sense. You're doing occupational therapy, you're doing outpatient stuff, you're like helping people who have had intense surgeries. Yeah.
Right.
Boom, 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 boom. I'm healed. I love that. That makes a ton of sense. One of the bards was the head of psychology. The other bard was, using Scrubs as a reference, played kind of like that janitor role.
That's
We
hilarious.
talked to Robbie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go back and listen to Robbie's episode.
Yeah.
And then Incha, who plays the druid, wanted to be like more of a child psychologist, pediatrician sort of vibes of working with kids specifically. So it was awesome. Everybody had their own ideas of what they wanted to do and their backstories of how they fit into this hospital and with each other and stuff. And it was just, it came together so well to the point where I was like, this is fitting awesomely, like weirdly well. Now, there were hiccups along the way, but that's why we're here. That's why we're here. So, things to include in your medical drama. You're trying to make a medical drama, maybe, and we'll talk about where to include this, how to include this into your games, because there's lots of different ways. But one of the things you got to add is medical stuff.
Yeah.
So if it's medical mysteries, if it's like illnesses, diseases, injuries, I think it's important to add those things. I just think that like it's the most or the easiest and most direct way to kind of like add medical drama vibes into your game is to add like a hospital or doctors or whatever, but there needs to be the conflict.
Right.
If not for the drama, the conflict is the medical. And therefore you got to have medical mysteries. Now, there's so many different ways you can go about this because right off the bat, D&D does have like their own diseases and different things. I think we did an episode on that actually, where we
Mhm.
talked about like cackle fever and these random
Yeah,
other
yeah.
things that you can get. There's like rot plague or ghoul fever, and there's millions of different ones. And you can like Google a ton on Wikidots. You can find like different ones that maybe not are in the books right now. So you can use those things. But even those things are very much like, okay, it incubates for 4 days. And you're like, all right, well, we don't have time for that. And then it'll say, make a medicine check. Okay, as long as you hit this DC, you discover it.
Right.
And now it just
Make
needs a
another
remove
magic-
curse.
Right.
Or whatever. And
Yeah.
they give you 3 steps, but it's still like bing, bang, boom. This is cured. We're done. The way that we went about it was like thinking a little bit more like building combat encounters or building encounters in general, where like there's multi-layered, you're leaving enough space for improv, where it was really like, what is this situation that we could make fit in a medical drama as well as this D&D game?
Mhm.
Because I think that's something I can't believe we haven't mentioned specifically, but like, I think the easiest way to make this work, if you're including D&D into a medical drama, that means that your setting is still fantasy at some point.
Right.
So you have to keep that in mind. That's a huge part of this, is that you're already making huge strides. Magic exists in your medical drama.
Mhm.
That's different. There aren't a ton of medical dramas out there where that's the case. So it's like,
I'd argue none of them.
I'm sure there's like one in existence, maybe not an American one, but I guarantee there's like a medical drama that has a supernatural element. I'm sure there is.
Let us
Because
know.
I watched the Phantom
so you wanna
Lawyer
be a
show.
DM@gmail.com.
Please.
Yeah. Send us an email if you know
Recommendations.
you're if you
Welcomed.
got a magical medical drama you think would be good.
I'd love to hear about it.
Could be an anime. I mean, honestly, anime has done everything.
I'm picturing like a K-drama.
Ooh, yeah, probably.
That's probably done one because I watched that Phantom Lawyer one, which combined like law procedurals with supernatural stuff. So it's only a natural jump from there. So like, I do think that for me, when I was coming up with all these medical mysteries, I started thinking of like, one of my earliest and easiest examples, one that I would give people when I was describing how I even made D&D into a medical drama, is I would describe the situation of from the Rugrats. We've mentioned it on episodes, but the Rugrats, Chucky eating the watermelon seed. Angelica puts the fear of God into him by saying that watermelon seed is going to grow into a whole plant and it's going to burst or whatever. And what if that was true?
Yeah.
So that's where my head starts, is just I'm thinking of these like fantastical medical mysteries, these medical marvels that could occur in a fantasy world, because why the fuck not? Magic exists.
Right.
So yeah, this watermelon, for some reason, it does grow inside your stomach and it will burst and you will die. So we got to figure this out. How do you get it out? So it's like, obviously the interesting thing is, for so many of them, I might write down an idea of how to solve it, but it's not as easy as like DC 15 medicine check solved.
Yeah. No,
it's more like I'll know it when I feel it. When I see it.
That's one of those things that kind of is a dungeon master. One of those things you just kind of get the feel for is giving open-ended puzzles to your players. Putting an obstacle in their path and not really having a set, you can have an idea of how you think it should be done or how it should be solved, but players will surprise you with what they come up with, really, and honestly, for how they're going to solve whatever problem you put in front of them. So give them the space.
Yeah. I mean, there's all different kinds of cool ones. Oops All Healers has a lot of really interesting ones where I would take different things, like I would take like powerful spells that would tell you the only way to undo this is a wish spell. And I would be like, okay, other than a wish spell, So I'm bending the rules a lot. There's a lot
Right,
of
right,
rule of
right.
cool involved with a lot of this, like, oh, DM, can I use detect thoughts and go inside of like their mind palette? Sure. Roll
Yeah.
for it.
Hell
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, so it's allowing for these like crazy asks where they're twisting their spells and their abilities in order to meet the scenario at hand. And I just think that for us, like it was just important to me specifically, like I didn't want I'm fine, like shows like House and Scrubs, like they have teams of writers and lawyers backing them up. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to like design an entire scenario around a cancer patient for two reasons. One, I don't want it to become the butt of the joke accidentally almost,
Right.
just because of our normal like glib free air, like you know what I mean,
Yeah,
devil
yeah,
may
yeah.
care kind of vibes of like comedy forward actual plays is like I don't
Mhm.
want to accidentally do something stupid or have somebody else say something stupid or even bring up that scenario. If we
Yeah.
don't have that be the disease, then it won't come up. The second one
Mhm.
is like uh that kind of makes me feel, because cancer is like a real thing, if I was going to include it in a story, it would require me to do research and make sure things are actually like accurate.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that extra work.
Mhm.
So I can just invent diseases, invent things, make things completely
Yeah.
out of whole cloth where it's like, okay, the only way to fix this, you got to go find a crazy flower. I don't know, like just whatever outside of the box stuff you can think of. I don't want to give
Mhm.
away too many because they're in the show. And of
Right.
course, my mind is thinking of all of those examples, but I don't want to give any spoilers away. The first one is hag related, and it's crazy in episode 1. Hag related in episode 1.
Yep.
Wild. Uh so medical,
Also,
we have medical mysteries.
one more thing on that point.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of also, it's just kind of we're in a fantasy world. Cancer exists. Let's do fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
Is kind of another thing
A little
about
bit
it,
of escapism.
and we want to get away from all of it. That's kind of the point of
Yeah, like
D&D.
there's a world where maybe like a group of people could use a TTRPG to explore heavy topics like that,
Right.
if that's what the table's going for. If the
Hmm.
table's just going to do a medical drama, then usually you're going there for the sake of entertainment and not like closure. So
Right.
like I would say, yeah, if your purpose is entertainment, you can kind of put cancer on the back burner and have there be watermelon
Yeah.
seeds. Maybe do auto brewery syndrome if you really
Yeah,
feel
yeah, yeah, yeah.
feeling
I
spicy,
think
but like
I
and
think
you know
you
what?
kind of
Change it
have
up.
to.
Like I think I did one that was similar to auto brewery syndrome, but it was like auto confectionery syndrome. So it was like instead
Okay.
of it turning into alcohol, it turns into candy.
Oh,
So now
fun.
you just have lollipops filling your stomach. Your fingernails are turning into peppermint. Oh no.
That's hilarious.
So there's like that idea. I think that the things that I like to hit on when it comes to this, we've talked about caution and compassion, the idea of like being careful with real diseases and stuff like that. Lean towards whimsy rather than realism is my suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the other thing is like variation. Think of the different types of things. Not everything has to be a disease. It can be an
Yeah.
injury, right? Like, oh, there's a massive car accident.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like that can be something
That's
that happens.
another
And then,
big medical drama thing. It's like the 10-car pileup episode,
yeah, the
like the
mass casualty
triage.
event.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing would be like, because D&D has so much like enchantment magic, so much mental stuff, you can think about those things. Obviously, we had two characters in the game who were playing psychologists of some kind, so
Right.
it made a sense to do it that way too, which was another thing for me because it was like, okay, episode 1, I have two psychologists and I have the chef, the guy who runs the cafe and is like
Mhm.
the head custodian. What should their medical mystery be? I would be an idiot not to pick a mental thing,
Right. Right. Right.
right? Like the chef
Yeah.
can kind of fit in anywhere. He's not a medical professional in a technical sense. His character dropped
Mhm.
out of med school. You find this all out in episode 1. It's not important right now. But actually, his character is crucial to lots of the stories. But there are like abilities and like story reasons where it's like these two characters have decided to play psychologists. I should give them some psychology shit. So it
Right.
was like, okay, this is going to be a mental thing. Are there physical parts of it? Of course there are, but like
right.
it plays into this idea of playing to their strengths that they can do. Why would they call these doctors in? We're in a fucking hospital. They would call the
Mhm.
brain surgeon if we needed brain surgery. They're going to call the heart surgeon if we need a heart surgery. You know what I mean? Like that's just how hospitals are.
Right.
So all that stuff. The other reason I liked changing up some of this stuff, and we already kind of touched on it, is just the action economy of it all. Just kind
Mm.
of like, we don't want somebody to come in and go, doctor, my arm's broken, and go, cool, awesome, cure wounds. Fixed. Like,
Right.
what? Like, we don't want really quick, sir, I have a disease. I'm poisoned. Lay on hands.
All
Like,
right, cool. Roll credits.
because it's like, yeah, it's like, not only do we want the players to have fun, but we're also making a show. So it's like
Right,
that
right,
added
right.
element of like, that's not entertaining at all. So all the different things to think about, you know? The next thing is NPCs. We talked about if there's not medical stuff, then there should be medical people of some kind, whether it's
Right.
doctors, surgeons, nurses. You can go on the evil side and go insurance people. You can go
Oh yeah.
people who own private healthcare hospitals, people who, you know what I mean? You can
Oh
go
yeah, there's always
pharmaceutical
the
companies, BBGs, they're
director
villains.
of the board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something. There's some kind of non-doctor who
Not
controls
telling the
doctors.
doctors. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it all comes down to the bottom line, which is money,
Uh-huh.
profit over people. Yeah. No. So, I mean, the
great.
medical field is rife with villains. Easy for the
So
picking
is,
when it
man.
comes to picking people. But there's all different kinds of staff, nurses, doctors, etc. I took a lot of my inspiration from media. Honestly, there's all different kinds of like figures. Even if you like, I personally have never watched The Pit, right? But like, I've seen so many clips on like social
Right.
media and stuff that I feel like I practically have seen The Pit. So like,
Mhm.
I'm used to there always being, this is like a common trope you see in medical dramas, is like the head nurse being kind of like short woman, but an absolute tank of a woman. Like
Yes.
so sturdy, you can't knock her over.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
No nonsense. Everybody lives
Yeah.
in fear of this woman.
Yeah. But like physically, you're like, oh,
Small
a
stature.
gust of
yeah.
wind could take her
Right,
down.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're like,
No, and
something
then-
about her is frightening.
Yes. Yeah.
And yet deeply comforting. And so
right. Yeah. 'cause
that's
there
what
is
we do for that
too.
character, right?
It's
So then it was just
nurturing.
like, yeah, it was like coming up with little things of like thinking of the big things. So like I had watched all of The Resident. So it was like,
Mm.
okay, I'm gonna come up with, before talking to the players, I'm gonna come up with the head of neurosurgery, the head of cardio, the
Right.
chief surgeon, head resident, head of ER, chief nurse, all the biggest positions. And those will
Right.
be the NPCs that we speak with. And I can just cycle them in and out.
Mhm.
And it was that easy, right? And then because we're playing in a fantasy world, I got to have a little bit more fun with it, where it was like, okay, the head of the ER, she's kind of like a ranger, swarm keeper. It was just like Dr. Skeeter, right? She was just a black woman who had a bunch of like mosquito little instruments, and they buzz around, and it's like a little syringe, mechanical little bugs. And that's how she does her stuff. And then there was Dr. Erlenmeyer, was like the head of the head resident. Dr. Erlenmeyer,
Mhm.
just named after the flask, obviously. But it also, it was my way of getting into her accent, because she had a German accent. So it was just saying her name, Dr. Erlenmeyer. Hello, I am Dr. Erlenmeyer. She was Tabaxi. So it was just like having some fun with that. Like you can get a little bit more creative with what they look like. Obviously we have like medical stuff going on. We decided to, like, I had so much fun coming up with NPCs. Actually, it really was like such a blast. Because what I did is I come up with like, I had a decent list, honestly, like to the point where like a player could just go, who's the head nurse? And I had that.
Right.
Like it was like, or it was like, oh, can I find a nurse? And it was like, well, she may be the head nurse, but I have a nurse in mind. I have their name written down, Nikki Nightshift. She's written down. She's ready to go. You know what I mean? So it was
birth
like,
certificate. Her parents must.
Exactly. I know, right? None of it makes sense. There's like
One of
a
those self-fulfilling
the
names.
it true. They all are. They all are. The Winter Eladrin, who's the
Mhm.
medical examiner in the morgue.
Uh-huh.
His name is Zero Kelvin.
Sure. Sure, yeah. Okay.
Then
I
there's the
gotcha.
Warforged, who
Mhm.
is in charge of cardiac surgery. Is bypass.
This is a very conveniently named hospital.
Well, the hospital is
No, very
called.
conveniently named employees of
I
the
know the
hospital, but
employees are they are perfect. Um,
they found their
so
callings,
then,
each of them individually.
so then we have the hospital itself was a group decision. We all kind of came up with a name for the hospital ourselves because I think
Mm.
somebody popped a joke of like calling it the like Mulligan, like naming it after Brendan Lee Mulligan.
Right.
And then another person said, no, 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 we should do Iyengar, Saint
Okay.
Iyengar,
Okay.
for Bria. And I was like, damn, that does sound perfect. It does sound like
Mm.
a, so it
Yeah, yeah,
became the
yeah.
Saint Iyengar Research Hospital.
Hell yeah.
So that's
I'm
where our
excited.
setting takes place. We decided to go modern fantasy,
Mhm.
urban fantasy,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it. And because we have Sphinx City, bingo bango, I knew that
Yeah.
there was, it worked out even more perfectly because, like, first of all, just Manhattan has multiple hospitals. There's not just one hospital in
Right.
Manhattan, and we're based. Sphinx City's map is very loosely is based on Manhattan. So in my
Mhm.
head, geography size wise, I was like, we can fit another hospital. Then my next thing was like, how do I make them different? Wait a minute, they're already different. The only hospital that I have in Sphinx City currently is the Sphinx City General Hospital, which would be like a public hospital.
Right.
The things are paid for by the state or whatever. You know what I mean? If you were to go that deep into the world building of it.
Mhm.
Whereas the research hospital is a private hospital. That's
Right,
the
right,
one where
right.
they're going to be
That's
like,
the
you don't have
teaching hospital,
insurance?
yeah.
Get out of here. Yeah, like that's going to
Right.
be the one. So that's it was easy to fit them in. So it was just like,
Mhm.
boom, okay, there's two hospitals. Love it. But I think the NPCs are a lot of fun. It's definitely a good place to go from there. I
Mhm.
do think then the next step is the drama. If you're
Yeah.
already adding in some medical stuff, you got your NPCs, you have your medical people, you have your medical stuff. Now you need the drama part of it, the other part of the equation. And this part is kind of easy because you can fit it anywhere. Of course, you can make it, I guess, more tied into the medical field and like the hospital itself. Like that's what I tried to do
Mhm.
with like little things of like a rumor breaks out of like a very popular employee gets fired.
Mm.
That gets people talking. You know what I mean? Because
Right,
you,
right,
you
right.
think about some of these medical drama shows, House is a little bit better with it, but I think they still do it too. Grey's Anatomy does it maybe the worst. Middle of surgery, chest cavity completely open, blood everywhere. And they're
Uh-huh.
like, can you believe what Chandra said yesterday? I can't fucking
Oh, they
believe
do.
her.
It is all the time in house too.
It drives me fucking nuts. The malpractice suits. Anyway, it's so stupid. So, but like,
Somebody listens to these fucking recordings, dude.
I know it's so dumb. So like, yeah, it's just adding in those kinds of things. You could do all kinds of things like that. Have it
Right.
be like
Yeah.
specific to the hospital, like that kind of drama. Um, but we talked about it already, the idea of like the difference between a Law and Order show and a true crime documentary. There's real life medical shows where you meet real doctors
Right.
and real patients and you
Right,
hear
right, right.
real true medical stories. And then there's scripted juicy stuff where doctors are fucking in closets, right? Like totally different shit. So
Mhm.
there's different things. We're evoking the second one. Not that your
Yeah.
show needs to have sex. That's a session zero thing, but it can. So like there's gossip.
Mhm.
Easy way to emulate or replicate that. Obviously, you can have NPCs introduce gossip. Just having an NPC walk up to one of the players and go, "Hey, did you hear?" Da 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 da.
Right.
Easy peasy. You can also have the players come up with some gossip
That's fun.
before the story, before the
Yeah, yeah,
arc.
yeah.
Hey, what have you heard about da da da? And then you can either with their work or privately, you can decide what's true, what's not true. You can do the same with secrets. Hey,
Yeah.
privately send to all the players a message, hey, let me get a secret from everybody. Might come out. You know what I mean? That way it's kind of like, this is how we're dealing with power dynamics. This is how things can shift without there necessarily being like fists thrown.
Right.
You're adding in a layer of drama, of intrigue, of stakes.
Mhm.
Relationships is an easy one. I mean, just the idea of like the players all should know each other in the sense of a medical drama, for the most part, at least. Usually the patients would be the NPCs. Obviously, there's ways to twist that and stuff, but just focusing on the relationships in general, like
Yeah.
providing space for the players to talk to one another, to talk about the juicy. If you're providing all this gossip and secrets and like tantalizing stuff, you got to give them a chance to just like gab about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you
Yeah.
need them to have a second to just be like, did you fucking hear about this bitch? I can't believe her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need a moment to just kind of let that out where you're with your friends and you can be like, do you see that? You see this fucking notice on the board? Like they need that. The other thing is like lore or history. I included this in the sense of like, you could say something to the effect of like, your character knows that this hospital has never lost a patient before, or something like that. That's
Right.
lore about the hospital.
Right.
Creating these different things. There could be drama like that. Just the drama of like somebody looking up the medical records, looking up the different things, who was working what night. You could really pay attention into things like that. Like it makes me think of actually the both true crime and the dramatized movie of it. The story of the good nurse. Eddie Redmayne played the person in it, but that's a true story, and it also talks to the evilness of private healthcare because of so many hospitals being like, pretty sure this guy's killing people, but if we report it, we're gonna get in trouble, so we'll just fire him. And then he just goes to a different hospital and kills more people, and goes to a different hospital and kills more people, and that's just a true story. So
That's
like
crazy.
you could work something like similar into your stuff, just the idea of that there is history, there's like lore about the hospital, about the relationships, about the owner of the hospital, about the board members, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. Like just going a little bit deeper into like both the characters and the setting, I think,
right,
is kind of what I mean. Now we're making D&D into a medical drama. Naturally, that would imply that we're still going to use D&D combat.
Yeah.
Right? So the question then becomes, how do you put combat into a medical drama?
Very carefully.
Very carefully. Because there's all kinds of sharp objects everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's sick people about, pathogens and the like. So the way that I'm breaking this down is to kind of think about who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Okay.
Who are you fighting in the medical drama? You could fight a patient. You could fight another doctor. You could fight a staff member like the owner of the hospital.
Right.
You could fight with the disease itself, maybe, if we get a little outside the box. You know what I mean? You're literally fighting viruses. Those are the big ones. Those are the big ones, I think. What are you fighting? You're fighting, obviously. That one kind of, I feel like, kind of goes back into the who. You're fighting a doctor. The who could get more specific, I suppose. But maybe you're fighting something else. I mean, obviously, you can expand upon
fighting
that.
The system.
Bigger. Yeah, like you're fighting the system. You're fighting insurance companies or the owners of private hospitals or whatever, pharmaceutical companies, what have you. Where are you fighting them? Maybe you're shrunk down into a little Osmosis Jones, and you're fighting them inside of the body.
That's fun. That's another show.
Maybe you're just fighting them in the hospital. Like maybe it's one of those things. We've seen that before, where either it's a patient, maybe it's a patient on PCP or something similar, like a magical drug that makes them extra strong, and now they're fighting everybody in the emergency room, waiting room. You got to fight that guy.
Yeah,
it's your prerogative to fight that man.
You
take him down.
As a medical professional, you have to fight that guy.
You simply must fight that man. And then there's also like other kinds of combat encounters that you could do.
And there's also
in other places of the hospital. But
yeah,
there are
touching
plenty
back
of
on the house thing. Also going in like the information gathering trips that they do.
yes,
Of leaving the hospital and going and finding stuff
Off-site.
out. That's another big thing that you can also add into your drama, because not everything has to happen in the single location.
You're absolutely right. There are so many episodes of medical dramas where they go off-site.
Right.
Sometimes the episode starts there. Sometimes we get there. Sometimes it's a 3-episode special that's a crossover. Chicago Fire Med NY. So it's like so many things. So like, I think, yeah, where the fight takes place could be really interesting. I'll tell you, episode 1, you're never going to guess where the fight is. It's crazy. When is that fight happening? You know what I mean? Kind of like, and obviously all these questions like relate to one another. They all play into one another and stuff like that. Cause I immediately want to go, well, when you're fighting them might depend on why you're fighting them and how you're just choosing to fight. You know what I mean? Like they all play into each other, obviously. But yeah, it's very much like, is this combat going down? Obviously you have to think about the balancing of the combat itself and how long the session's going to take. For us, it was very interesting because there was a lot of times where I didn't have planned combats. It was really like, this could turn into a combat, could not. I don't know.
Right.
It might not. And so it was much more freeform than I'm usually used to. It works out for the sake of medical drama, though, just because you never know. I mean, how many times have we seen in medical dramas, they put the worst, most heartbreaking, tragic shit right at the peak of like humor and or happiness, where it's like, guys, my wife's pregnant. Code black. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, they're always like, bow.
Side of the building
explodes.
explodes. Yeah.
When you least expect it. They're like, oh, we met a new character. Oh, they're sweet and they're naive and they're a beautiful baby boy. Dead. They're dead by the end of the episode. I guarantee it.
Dead.
Like, what are you talking about? So it's like, when you do things, it'll depend on the situation. Why are you having combat in your medical drama? This is maybe why and how are probably the most important questions to be having. And then you can fill in a lot of the blanks. Because if you're fighting a virus, then how you're doing that fight is going to be very different than if you're fighting the head of the medical board.
Right.
Who's refusing to, investigate corrupt doctors or something like that. So it's very possible. I think it requires just a little bit more thought, because medical dramas, while of course there are violent scenes that can occur in a medical drama, it happens all the time, but it's not like normal thing to necessarily happen.
Right.
Especially in like a normal hospital, it doesn't happen very much. It can happen and it does happen, but it's not the norm, I would say. But that being said, we're playing D&D. So this is where the concessions come in. This is where the compromise comes in, where you kind of have to sort of be like, some of the medical drama things have to go away because we're playing D&D. And some of the D&D things have to go away because we're doing medical drama. And so making those two fit is an interesting thing. Now, there are, I think, medical drama TTRPGs. I think they're out there and they exist. One of them is called The Ward. It's a Powered by the Apocalypse game. There's Phase Anatomy, a melodramatic medical mystery. All different kinds of stuff. I just gave it a quick gook. So get out there, check out the world, man. There's all kinds of shit. Speaking of shit, wait till you hear about what we're gonna talk about next, gang, because it's that time of the week again, gang. It's time for Monster of the Week. Oh, okay. So this week, we're talking about the one, the only, the Pollo Maligno. Pollo Maligno. So this,
the evil chicken,
literally translates to the evil chicken. It is Colombian folklore. As its name suggests, it's an evil chicken.
Sure.
It usually is depicted as massive. It's usually depicted as a massive hen.
Okay.
Other than that, though, it's just a normal looking chicken. But it can sometimes, apparently, in some depictions, take on the form of a wanderer.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
It's just to really fuck
Not
with people.
just a chicken, a giant chicken, but a giant shape-changing chicken. I love it.
Well, that's
I'm
only
here
in
for
one particular depiction. I mean, most of the depictions,
Okay.
it's just chicken.
Just
but
a regular
sometimes, yeah.
big chicken. Okay.
Well, big, massive. But
big chicken.
we're talking a big fowl. Big fowl.
Big fowl. I'm looking at some of this artwork. Okay, so this is like people bigger than people-sized chickens.
Yeah, I mean, that's a human arm coming out of that cartoon chicken there.
Oh, lovely.
Out of its mouth. But here's the thing. So these creatures, they have high-pitched calls, which sound somewhere between birdsong and a human whistle.
Mhm.
They can be heard at night, but they're often passed off as an owl. One can tell how close it is by the volume of its cry. However, the closer it is, the quieter it will sound, and vice versa. It is advised
sneaky.
that I know that's actually a cool D&D thing. Like that's a cool like monster thing to give of like
Yeah.
the sound's getting louder and you're like, we're finding it. You're like,
Yeah.
you're going the wrong way.
Mhm.
Wow, it is advised that travelers turn back if they hear the call of the Pollo Maligno. If there are two or more people traveling on the road, the Pollo Maligno will run in front of them and chirp incessantly in an attempt to either drive them mad or draw them closer.
Sure.
It will devour them.
Mhm. Mhm.
The only way, I can't stress this enough, to get rid of the Pollo Maligno is to pray to Saint Miguel 9 times, at which time it will disappear. The chicken also has been known to attack people if they play cards, joke, or drink, as it does not approve of these things.
So normal horror movie rules apply to this monster. Got it.
Yeah. But unlike most chickens, it can fly.
No. How do
Yeah.
you? I don't even know who Saint Miguel is. I'm fucked.
Seriously, we gotta learn it in case we're ever in
I gotta learn this
Colombia.
prayer to Saint Miguel so I don't get eaten by Pollo Maligno.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other variation of the story where it attacks people and turns into people, like as a shape changer, that one's a little terrifying because it will disguise itself as a human wandering at night, then begin to follow someone. It will slowly begin to chirp, and when its quarry notices and tries to run, it will manifest into its chicken form right in front of them and begin to peck at their feet. If the person does not panic, then the chicken will turn into a vine that wreaths around their legs and brings them to the ground. This version of the chicken is literally a manifestation of the devil, and it attacks more men than it does women. At least it's got a code.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like that's just covering up some Colombian divorces. Is what it seems like.
I mean,
no, Pollo Maligno got him. Sorry.
hey,
I don't know. Guess all his stuff is mine now.
clucks to cluck.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
So
all we
quick.
get into. That's all we get into this time. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at So You Want to Be a DM at gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon, the Twitch, and our merch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See you.
Hey gang, it's Justin. I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Nutmuffins, may Palor's light shine upon you. Marsavies, have you watered your flesh prison lately? Yazvai, the eternal library, where color and community await you. Molly Adeza, who gets yet another level up. Amy Rose Zero, today, don't forget to touch grass, be kind, and resist fascism. And there's Caden, Elijah, Tappy, and Linguini. Gang, we appreciate and love you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Want to Be a DM.